think as the tyres start to heat up, we'll see some more moves being made. And especially when drivers getting comfortable from the track. Obviously they've had some practice time, but this is really the first time a lot of them will be in proper race with each other.
Yeah, not many of these drivers will have met each other before. This was an open entry season. We have got some teams out here that do know each other well, but right now they are not the drivers at the front end of the field. So these people may have never met each other before they joined our practice server this evening. We're looking back from Pico at Gonzalez. I believe that is 1.2 seconds behind. Another thing is when you're attacking, you've got to worry about the car behind. Make sure that you don't compromise yourself going forward and let the cars behind catch up. It's a reasonably close racing here down the hill underneath that lovely bridge there. Through the very fast sweeping last corner we go. There we have it. See, there's close racing down the start finish straight of that BMW being chased by the Mercedes. That's number 1 being chased by number 42. Not managed to find a way past though.
Yeah, we can see that the gap between Sato and Santos and the rest is starting to build. I think it would be really interesting to see if the front starts to pull away, and if we have a kind of a set of 2 races. We have a race for the front and then we sort of have a mid-pack race going on.
Yeah, we've got a nice gap forming around 5th and 6th. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on that as we go forward. This front pack of, well, Soto's kind of gone, but then Santos, Pico, Gonzalez and Hausbach are all bickering over what will eventually become second place when they cross the line. Who ends up well, of course, we have no idea. These cars resplendent into beautiful liveries there. The number 42 TDB sponsored car of Pico, and they're hoping to get back into the second place they were in earlier on. Santos regained that position, but they're now back where they qualified. A little bit wide for the BMW. Will that compromise their exit out of the last corner, the downhill flat right corner towards the Big Ben they go. There's the famous Lime Rock Bridge. If you use that as your braking point, you are going to go off. Don't ask how I learned that one. The gap's down to 0.5 seconds between 2nd and 3rd, so Pico is keeping close. They're definitely keeping within reach of Santos. Santos is not pulling away as we might have expected from qualifying, which means that they're going to have a chance for a battle later on. Soto, however, has absolutely checked out at the front.
I think this track, despite being short, is deceptively tricky. You know, you've got to make sure you do perfection every single lap, especially with these corners. You know, one wrong move, it's quite easy to go off, as I found out earlier today.
Yeah, it's a very fast track. You've got a lot of corners that are nearly flat. If they aren't flat, you're basically only in 3rd and 4th gear, and then up into 5th along the start-finish straight. So speeds are high. That's why a lot of drivers call it basically a wiggly oval, a road oval. It's the closest thing you'll get to doing NASCAR without doing NASCAR. As you can see, this is the hardest braking point into turn 1 apart from the chicane. Some series don't even bother with the chicane. That's how fast this track can become. Down to 3rd gear, Pico goes out of turn 2. They still haven't managed to close the gap up to Santos ahead. They're trying, but there's just not quite enough of a gap. Maybe they're waiting. They've still got 9 minutes of the race to go. Maybe they're having a think about it later on. We'll have to see how this plays out as Soto continues to check out the front. These two are fighting. However, the gap to Gonzalez behind is opening up very close through the chicane there. Excellent on the brakes from Pico. Santos just it's a little bit closer than they were 1 lap ago. The gap is down to 0.2 of a second as we come round towards the downhill section now. This is the battle for second place. Will Pico make the move through turn 7? You have to be very brave to do it there. So I think they're going to sit. Yeah, they're going to sit behind him the slipstream. It's wide for the BMW on the way down the start finish straight. Pico already looking about the inside. Santos throwing defensive moves. There we go. Pico's going to go around the outside, or at least have a go at it. Can they make it stick? No, not enough overspeed to go around the outside. Is the cutback open? Excellent defensive positioning from Santos. Just pops it on the apex, and there is no way through for this lap.
Some nice clean racing from both drivers. It's good to see we've got battles going on up and down the grid as well. You know, no big gaps forming other than kind of the gap between the front 2. I think it'll be really interesting to see, because obviously this is a 3-heat competition for today. It'll be really interesting to see if this is kind of consistent leaders or whether we get a bit of a different story for each race.
Definitely, you have to wondering if drivers are going to mentally fatigue themselves. You know, sim racing is not all easy work, especially if you've been practicing for a few hours beforehand. You're going to start to feel the fatigue towards the end of the race. But the guys here, this pack here, are all going to be ramped up on adrenaline. This is the battle. His 10th place is the orange McLaren at the back. Then we've got the blue McLaren of Jax in 9th, and then Radulovic and Lindner in 7th and 8th. The Porsche in 6th has sort of checked out. There's a 2.5 second gap back, but these two McLarens are some of the closest cars on the circuit now. They are reasonably nose to tail in this pack of 4. You've got to think if any of the cars ahead makes a mistake, they'll be ready to pounce back into the top 10. As we can see here, there's a full championship. We have got 6 rounds, 5 of which I believe are in America, 1 of which travels over to the UK to Oulton Park. There's a big twitch there for the number 64 car of Tumulty. That was not the optimal racing line through turn 2. Lots of curb being munched there by the Mercedes of Pico. The gap's still under a second, but still not close enough to make a move. The Westbend under the turret tyres, Labour Bridge down through the very fast downhill corner of turn 7. Keeps the track limits this time, which will definitely help that run down the start finish straight. Nothing being done by Pico just yet, having to sit behind and think about it as we start another lap. We're over halfway through now, so this is looking pretty set in terms of order, but everything can change.
Yeah, I think with overtaking on this track, sometimes it's best not to make the move, but wait for your the car ahead to make a mistake, and you can take advantage of those opportunities, especially with the speed. You can just kind of sneak through.
Definitely, we saw some errors in practice, especially from some of the mid and rear engine cars. They are notorious in terms of some of these cars require to be on a nice speed. They want to get the rotation to keep the speed up. A little bit too much curb there for the 42 car, which is going to allow that BMW behind to close up. I wonder if that is going to compromise them going through the rest of the lap there. Gonzalez, I believe, that is chasing down Pico, who has fallen out of that half a second gap. It's now only half a second in the car behind. You see, when you're pushing really hard, you can make mistakes and drop back into the clutch to the car behind Gonzalez and smell that podium as we come over the start-finish straight. Is there a move being shown? No. They're keeping it nice and ordered now as we come up to the 2/3 completed mark. They're keeping it organised, keeping it clean, keeping it tidy, not trying to risk anything, don't want to do anything stupid and end up at the back. There might be something stupid later on, we'll find out.
I think it's really interesting how each race is sort of a practice as well. You can start to work out what sort of moves can I make, where I've got the most grip, where am I, feeling comfortable to make the moves. So I imagine we're going to see closer and closer racing as each stage progresses of this competition.
Definitely, drivers get confident and also they learn how each other works. They learn where their car is strongest. They might learn where the Mercedes is stronger than the BMW. There are no setups in this series, so the cars are all equal within their own manufacturer. So every BMW is the same as all the other BMWs, and they are all balanced performance too, as we can tell from this pretty close margin, which is what we like to see. We're now the gap at the front has pulled out to nearly 6 seconds. Soto is very clearly at the front there, but Pico and Gonzalez are both sniffing behind the BMW of Santos there in the lovely Brazilian sort of coloured liveries, the green, yellow and dark green there. There's still that black Mercedes lurking in the background of Halsband. They've not managed to catch up to just under the second mark as of yet. With a lot of insight, the 11th spat out wide, kept it facing the right direction, which is all important for racing.
Yeah, I think this onboard view really shows how kind of uphill and downhill this track is. You get a real sense of the incline and the decline, which obviously contributes quite a bit to your style of driving and how risk-taking you're willing to be. Back under the bridge we go. Gonzalez still chasing, just kind of looming in the background. I think with a podium position up for grabs, you don't want to make a risky move and spin off and lose that opportunity. So it's better to kind of sit and calculate and take it cautious and then move when the time's right.
Definitely, there's only the first round of the day, and it's only the first round of the entire season. There are, like I said, 5 other ones to go. There's a whole lot more racing these guys have got ahead of them for the championship. There's no need to rush it for points. No one really knows what the order's likely to be come the end of the season. This might be the only time these drivers are near the front. They don't want to blow that chance of getting good solid points while they can to secure their championship position come the end of the season. There are points on offer on all races, and there are prizes for the best driver of the day and then for the champion overall. The gap's close there between Gonzalez and Pico, but nothing being thrown just yet through the penultimate corner of West Bend. There is a chicane there, but iRacing does not use it. They plummet down the hill. Deceptively fast corner there. Of course, you're going to gain speed, but going downhill. But this front group have kept it very organised, kept it close, but no one's managed to get close enough to make a move yet.
I think it'll be really interesting to see if this is kind of the case for the same drivers, whether some are treating it more cautiously at the beginning and then they're going to get more daring, or whether they're going to kind of think of the long game and exercise caution more throughout the day.
Definitely, as they get confident, will that bring speed, or will that just build gaps and show where the difference in pace and the difference in car is even more obvious between the different chassis here? We have got a very obviously dominant car in the Mercedes so far, leading, being very heavily near the front, along with the BMW. There are other cars in the series. All iRacing GT4 cars are eligible for entry, so if you want to join for the
Oh, I think we've lost you there,
round,
Dan.
Yep, I'm back.
Yeah, we see three, the most important of the battle kind of following closely now. That black car at the back's just having a little look, but everyone's kind of taking it safe. Oh, we could be going for an overtake. Oh, that was close. But no, everyone's going, single file round the bend, continues on down. Oh, and we've got, and that silver car manages to save it just about. Oh, I think that was Gonzalez, yeah. And we have we've got a bigger gap going, and we're going to see if these two can keep it safe as they go around through the chicane. It's a deceptively tricky chicane. You've got to make sure you hit exactly the right points for both bends, and then we end up on the west bend and we're going downhill quite consistently now, and it'll be really interesting to see if these two can pull off a move in the kind of last few minutes of the race. Well, the last minute of the race, actually. We've got 45 seconds left.
Yep, the Hausbland car is very much looking racy now. The pace has been unlocked in that dark black with that dark blue black Mercedes. Gonzalez got to be worrying now. The silver BMW had that front to rear contact one lap ago, and the gap is very, very close there. They're drifting wide. Maybe that's due to overheating tyres or pushing too hard. The Mercedes keeping it nice and close behind, though. We can see it's only about a car length difference between them as they come through the big bend up towards this turn number 3. There they go. The gap extends. There's a car backwards in the background there. Not sure that's any of our front runners, so I think that's one of the back markers. Here we go through the chicane. They come through the first curve, over the second curve, over the third. Lots of jumping there from the BMW. Defensive moves already being thought about. That Mercedes is closing fast. Here we have our race winner start to finish domination from the number 50 Mercedes of R. Soto to take the first win of the IMSA GT4 Sprint Series presented by Grid Finder. Lovely win there for that car. And here we have the second place car of Santos crossing the line. There's Pico in third. Gonzalez managed to hold on to fourth ahead of Hausband in fifth. Very clean racing there from everybody involved, and a lovely win from Soto with dominant form, nearly 8 seconds over the line they had over everybody else.
Yeah, it was really unlucky for, I think it was Fierro that spun off right at the end, but it was a really, really dominant race from all of them.
Yeah, that front group just seemed to sort of keep pulling, keep finding time, keep pulling gaps, and it was only when they started bickering with each other they sort of lost lap time relative to the group behind. We have got 2 other races coming up, both 15 minutes, and I'm sure we'll see the same crowd near the front. But will the race start the race start will hopefully give us a different finishing order, or at least a different starting order at the end of lap 1. I think that was a really good race, really great start to the season. Shows we've got a good group of drivers that will be near the front for the rest of the season. What did you think, Poppy?
I think it was excellent, especially even from the drivers that weren't locked into the front battle. There was good racing up and down the grid, which I think is what you want to see in seasons like this.
Definitely, yeah. Keeping it close at the start of the season bodes well for the rest of it. We've got strong entry numbers here, so I can't see this season struggling towards the end of it. We have got another 15-minute race coming up in a couple of minutes, but for now we're going to take a quick to talk about what the season is. We didn't have a chance to earlier because of technical difficulties, but yeah, this is the IMSA GT4 series, so every car here is a GT4 car. There is a full list of them on iRacing. The BMW Mercedes seem to be the favourites so far. Every session starts with a 30-minute practice and then qualifying, where each of the drivers go out on their own, do 3 laps, an out lap, a fast lap, and then an in lap, and then they will, that's it for qualifying. Then we get 3 15-minute races across 6 rounds of the season. Round 1, we're at Lime Rock Park. If you're familiar with the circuit, it's a very tight little circuit in the northeast of America in Connecticut, and the cars are getting onto the grid now for the second race. We can see we've got Tomley on pole, then Jax, then Rodlovich, then Linda, with Soto starting down in 10th because of that top 10 reverse grid.
I think that reverse grid's really interesting. It's certainly going to make for good racing. And they're off.
Yeah, we have started the formation lap. Tomley and Jax will be thinking, right, how am I going to play this? This is our first time starting on pole position in this series, of course. So what are we going to do? Are we going to worry about each other, or are we going to work together? I wonder if there's any thoughts about maybe teamwork to keep those Mercedes behind. I wonder if we'll see Soto make their way through, Santos or Pico. You've got to think of someone like Gonzalez in 7th at an advantage here, because we saw they were competitive, but they're also starting ahead of all of their rivals.
I think it'll be really interesting. I know Tumulty personally, and I think it'll be really interesting to see how he handles the start, especially when you know you've got those stronger drivers behind. Do you go defensive? Do you go out aggressive and attack? Do you try and perform a break? You know, all of this will be going through their mind as they do the formation lap.
Yeah, it's not even a very long lap. The qualifying laps and race laps are all well under a minute. We're looking close to the 55-second mark. So even the formation lap's not particularly long. It's only a 2.4 kilometre circuit, so pretty much every other circuit the GT4 cars race at is longer, hence why it suits them so well, because it's such close racing, because you've got such a nice wiggly chicane in the middle of the lap to really help not break the cars up, but break the quick from the very quick. Now the cars start to form up for the race start. Now we're coming down the hill, and the bridge will be coming up just after turn 6 to get this second race started. 50 minutes of racing ahead for the middle race of the day. Reverse grid means it should be a spicy one. The cars to watch are your cars in 10th, 9th, 8th and 7th, as they were at the front of race 1. The safety car will pull into the pit lane in just 1 second. Side by side they go. McLaren front row lockout in reverse grid qualifying. There the safety car goes. The drivers are free now to drive up to the line until the lights go out. 50 minutes of lime rock to go for these drivers before the race 3. But here we go. Race 2 of the day is a go. The McLaren's bolt at the front. The Mercedes, though, are right behind them. It's a lightning start from the Rudlovich car. They're looking at the inside already. They're 3 wide into turn 1. Rudlovich goes straight through. As we see, that is easily the best start of the lot. They're totally side by side with Jax now. They're starting to form up behind. Everyone looks to have gotten through reasonably cleanly, except for that car that goes spearing off. That was one of our leading cars in the first race. Gonzalez, front end damage heavily into the wall there straight off the race start. There's not the optimal start for that person's race attempt for the rest of the day. Rudlovich leads from Totally and Jax. Then we have Greathouse and Lindner behind in 4th and 5th. Through the chicane for the first time in race 2 they go. That was quite the dramatic start there.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. Someone we were really, talking about being highly competitive. And we have another person that's spun off down. Oh, this is turning out to be a lot more dramatic. This is so exciting. I think that reverse grid really does change up the race. It's nice to have close racing from everyone, not too many gaps forming. We've got 1 second gap from Rudlovich to 20, and then everything else is less than a second behind.
Absolutely nice to see everyone keeping it nice and close. The Porsche looking up the inside there at the back end of the podium. They're side by side for 4th and 5th here, just behind this McLaren. There we go with this McLaren, the blue one of the blue 17 McLaren of Jax has spun coming through turn 3. Are they going to collect you on? There's the collection. We've already had one car get collected as it come off. That is going to be great news for Tumulty and Greathouse. It means that they can start to Tumulty definitely has now secured P2 at least for the time being. Greathouse slotted nicely into 3rd, inherited the podium because of that spin from the McLaren driver. We said it earlier on. Those mid-engine cars are very twitchy through turns 2 and 3. Quick direction change, agile cars equals potential for spin. They're now coming back down the hill. We've already seen a few cars go off in race 2, so there's definitely more life in the drivers now. They're a little bit more awake. They know how to battle each other. They're starting to learn things. They're learning where to push. But here it is. Race leader in lights the flag race leader in race 1, Soto. One of our leading drivers already up into 7th place. They've inherited a couple because of those spins ahead, but they haven't been able to get any farther. 7th is still good, but with only 12 minutes left, they're going to have to start making more progress if they want to think about driver of the day and into championship contention for the next few rounds.
Yeah, I think part of it is the drivers becoming more risk-taking. Maybe they're starting to realise, this championship could be something, it's heating up. They can make some moves. I think it's really interesting. The second race is really where it's come alive. I wonder if this will continue into the final race.
We have to hope it will do there. We've got cars up and down the grid doing lots of amazing things. Gonzalez's car's already a lap down. Rudlovich really took the advantage of that start. Let the chaos just happen behind them. Pulled out a 2.5 second lead in that red and white number 10 Mercedes GT4 car. Already proved to be a very fast chassis, and they're going to continue that streak so far. Hausblad in 4th there, the car we're focused on. This little battle pack, which is basically second through to nearly the back end of the top 10, are all very, very close. We've not got any gaps really over a second until we get to 8th between seconds. So it's going to be good going forward to keep these cars nice and close. Will give us the maximum potential for that juicy wheel-to-wheel racing. We've got a lovely twitch there for the Santos BMW up towards the uphill section chicane. There's a very, very nip and tuck there. The first of our Porsches, that's the white car of Greathouse, is sniffing at the back of Tomley while also having to defend. There's a Mercedes looking up the inside. That's the silver, black and gold 78 car of Hausband, but not managed to make the move. They might have compromised themselves though as we come through the downhill. Little dab on the brakes and through they go. They're nose to tail at the start of the slipstream, definitely playing its move there. The Porsche goes defensive. The BMW goes all the way around the outside. We are 3 wide. There's contact, just a little bit of side-to-side contact between them there. And the BMW goes all the way around the outside of 1 and then gets Greenhouse as well. That is the Santos car, and then it turns into the inside. Excellent placement from Santos. Greathouse being shuffled out wide by Hausbrand now. Not a very poor set of corners there, but they're fighting back. The Greathouse Porsche fighting back against the BMW to their left. This is the closest racing we've seen all day, and it is excellent racing indeed. The Soto car sat behind them, just waiting, biding their time, hoping for a mistake. The Porsche, there it is, a little bit more contact side to side. We're now going 4 wide up the hill, just out of the chicane, down the back straight. There's round the outside goes the Mercedes. The Porsche is looking a little bit compromised here. It's definitely not the faster car in the straight line as we go down towards the final corner and onto the start-finish straight.
I think we definitely can't discount Linda and Soto in this. They're just sitting, waiting, watching it all happen in front, maybe hoping for something like what we saw earlier, seeing if they could take advantage of everyone being too focused on people in front.
Move up the inside there for one of the Mercedes is the Greathouse Porsche being pushed back. Soto taking 5th place. That was an easy enough move for them on the power. That Mercedes, very large 4.84 litre, I think it is, V8 up front, producing a whopping amount of torque and horsepower. Powers it past Stuttgart's finest Cayman there. Now it is Mercedes in 4 and Mercedes in 5. There's a Mercedes looking to make it 4, 5 and 6 there, but have to think about the first of our Mustangs in the Linda car of 7 at the back of this epic battle pack. And there is the Santos car and the Tomley car. They have caught up to those very, very quickly. The Rudlovich car has completely bolted at the front. The Porsche going back up the inside of Soto, up into 5th place, I believe. It's looking almost slow there. The 2 Mercedes is side by side coming down the start-finish straight. And that purple car is putting a lot of speed difference on. That is one of the BMWs up the inside. They're now going just about not quite 3 wide. The Mustang up the inside there. Sorry, not BMW. Of that blue and black Mercedes. This battle pack are changing every lap, and look at that. Tumultly has already lost some of their places. Soto now up into 3rd place and hoping to go and catch up to Santos.
Yeah, I think this has been a really interesting battle pack. We've had it changing from front to back to front to back, and it's really interesting that the first 3 drivers who I guess thought they were off and away have kind of been caught up, and it's now really looking like it could be anybody's game for that final spot on the podium.
Definitely the Mustang going up the inside of the McLaren there. Tomley being shuffled out wide. That's another place lost for the McLaren. That car must be eating its tyres. The number 9 Linda Mercedes now has another crack at it and makes it through as we come down towards the start-finish straight. We are nearly halfway through this race already, and Rudlovich has absolutely bolted at the front. But Santos and Soto are going to try and close that gap now. The Tumultly McLaren has a dive, but then backs out of it at the last minute to cut back in behind the Hausband Mercedes. The Mills Mustang ahead of the Lindner Mercedes there has got through. That is a front running of our Mustangs. There's a couple of them in this race series so far. But yes, excellent fighting from all involved, just showing you how good these GT4 cars are, and especially the benefits of a reverse grid race. We have them in British Touring Car Championships, and they work excellently, and they evidently also work in IMSA GT4 sprint races.
I think part of it is these cars were big, and I was like, what overtaking opportunities are there going to be, especially in this kind of tight, twisty, turny track. But it's been brilliant so far. This track is almost
absolutely
built for these cars because it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, it seems to suit them very well. I think anything faster, maybe GT3 cars or lower rung prototypes, would be a little bit too quick. They might just follow single file and be too scared of an overtake. But as we've seen these GT4 cars, lap times are under a minute. So it's not even like they've got a long way to go to get back to the start-finish straight. The Mustang now holding off those 2 black and gold Mercedeses of Lindner and Hausblad. They are teammates, I believe, for the Phase X Superlab team. So that is a group of them. They will know each other very well. They work together. There is a real IMSA GT4 Mercedes that livery is based on. So it's a team with some history. They've got some knowledge about them, but they are being kept up by the Mills Mustang up ahead. What a beautiful car that Mustang is.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting that we have a team entering. I guess I was reading a bit about their driver profiles, and all of them have some sort of experience in real-world karting, which I wonder how much translates into kind of the iRacing world.
Yeah, if nothing else, it's going to teach you a little bit about wheel-to-wheel racing, which, as we can see, that team seems to have nailed pretty well. Those two Mercedeses, there are definitely going to be some team thinking going on between them. They don't want to get it going to hit each other. There's the number one rule of racing is don't crash into your teammate, and they are now both following the bottle in this cork here. The Mills Mustang are 5th, and then the Linda and Hausband Mercedes in 6th and 7th. Can't find a way through. The gaps at the front are coming down. Just keep an eye on those with 5 and a bit minutes to go. But Santos and Soto have not caught up to the Rodlovic Mercedes in front, which bodes very well for the third race there. We've got multiple cars that are competitive. Here we're on board with Soto now in that number 50 car, coming back down the hill through the fast last corner. Santos running wide again. There's going to be closing up from Soto. Again, the power is being put down. Santos goes to the inside defensively already. Soto gets a bit of slipstream, slingshots their way past around the outside. Can they make the move stick? No, the BMW comes back up the inside, just nudges them out a little bit, not too far to be, clean. Keep it clean, everyone. And there we go. The Soto Mercedes goes up the inside. There's side-to-side contact. As I say, keep it clean. He just pushed her past it, a little bit of a nudge, and through Soto goes on Santos. There we go, up into second place. 3.6 seconds is roughly the gap to the Rodlovic car. Can Soto catch? I think it's unlikely with the amount of time they've got left.
I think that's the beauty of this sprint race format is, you get 15 minutes to do your best 3 times over. And, Rodlovic knew that and just powered off at the front, and I think will probably be our race winner. But from there on down, I really think it could be Soto Santos as our final.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Greathouse has a little look and catches up to Santos.
Yeah, and speaking of catching up, the Hausblatt Mercedes, this is the closest we've seen it coming through the last corner of the gap now. Under a third of a second now, these two Mercedes side, line astern behind the Mustang. Is the Mustang going to throw a defensive move? Mills going to be checking in mirrors, left, right and centre. The Mercedes goes up the inside. Does it make it stick? It's got the shorter line. The Mills runs it out very wide, gets it on the grass, and there they both go through. Mistake from Mills, drops them out of 5th place. Halsband and Linda both get through there with just 4 minutes to go. They've been looking for that move for most of the middle part of that race, and they've managed to get through. Their teammates both get through on Mills. He is going to be not the best pleased with that, but as long as he can hold on to 7th ahead of the Tonotli car, then I'm sure that is decent points going forward. A lot of curb for the Mustang there on the left hand side, getting the car nice and too wheelie, and through the Halsband car goes on Linda. I think that is the Mercedes is looking like they're now having an inter-team battle.
Yeah, they were working together until they're not. I think it's really interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see how those two shape up, especially with the points that are on the table.
Definitely. Is there team tactics going on? Probably not this early. Come the end of the season, then we may start to see them working together, thinking, right, how can we maximise our chance of a Drivers' Championship towards the end of this 6-race season? We've got 3 on the bounce coming up, and then a quick break before the last 3 in a few weeks' time. But here we go, going into the last 3 minutes now of this race. Rodlovic, the Soto gap has closed up massively, actually, so we may well see a battle for the lead. But right now, Hausband and Linda are providing quality entertainment in their matching black and gold Thais liveried GT4 Mercedes. Through the chicane they go, trying not to smash the curbs too hard, or there is a risk you get spat off into the grass.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've experienced much of the grass at turn 1 when I've, braked a bit too early or too late. But I think it is interesting. We'll see how much of the leaderboard is changed by, some of our front runners not doing as well this time, and, some of our mid-pack really advancing. I think the third...
And here we have...
Ooh, just around the corner.
The gap for the lead is very, very close there now. I'll say very, very close. It's under a second, which is important. That Petronas livery Mercedes running away from the black and gold one, but not fast enough. We know Soto's quick race 1 winner is already catching up through the reverse grid. They survived the carnage. There's 2 minutes to go now. Can Rodlovic hold off? They've been leading since the end of, since about halfway around lap 1 of the race. So they've not really had much contest. They've just been kind of plugging in decent lap times. But Soto, once they battle through the traffic, they've been able to put in really quick lap times and close that gap up now. Will we see it close up towards the end? I'm not sure yet. We've got 1 minute 30 something on the clock as we cross the line. That means more than likely 2 laps to go. And it's not a long lap. It's only 7 major corners if you don't count the chicane as more than 1. Into turn 1 we go. Onto the brakes goes the Rodlovic Mercedes. We've got the onboard shot there on the right, so we can see just how close those two cars are. But there is back markers coming up. That is a car ahead of us we can see. So that is going to be something they're going to have to think about, is are they going to catch it? And if so, where do they pass?
Yeah, I think that's the key to this track, is learning when to make your move. You know, there's plenty of great opportunities, but it's about making sure you don't go too daring and risk your race.
Yeah, we've seen. Yeah, the best overtaking opportunity appears to be into turn 1, so that's where you're thinking Soto's going to want to make their move down the hill, get nice and close, tuck into the slipstream, and then fly up the inside, or even down the outside if you're feeling particularly daring. Here we go, we've got 38 seconds on the clock. That means this is the last lap. Rudlovic has to hold off for 2.4 kilometers, and then the race victory is there. Soto just not quite close enough to make the move into turn 1. Turn 2 immediately afterwards, they're still line astern. That's one of the Porsches up ahead to worry about. They might catch it on this lap, they might not. Depends on their relative difference. Here we go, just 6 corners to go now. No, sorry, 4 corners to go. That's turn 3. The cars are nose to tail. They're almost touching as they wind round towards the chicane at the halfway point of the lap. Is he going to see a move for Soto? He makes the move up the inside, gets to the apex. There's a spin for Rudlovic. Side-to-side collision. Rudlovic hits Soto. They both go off, and the BMW and the Porsche slip through. That's the Great House Porsche, but the Santos BMW there, completely innocent in all of that, therefore inherits the lead. The number 1 car came out of absolutely nowhere through the last lap. What a change for the lead on the last lap, second to last corner. Santos is going to be your race 2 winner of the day. Rudlovic seems to have recovered okay. Great House in behind, but Santos is the winner. The BMW coming out of nowhere. No one saw that one coming. Rudlovic finishes up in third. Rudlovic in second. Great House in third by 1/10. Then Linda, and then our race 1 winner in Soto in 5th place. Hausband 6th, and then the Mills Mustang in 7th, and then the Tumultly pole-sitting McLaren in 8th. Tocquini in 9th. Trap 10th, and then the rest of the grid behind. But what a end to that race.
I did not see that coming at all. I mean, it just proves my point about saying sometimes it's about waiting and taking advantage of other people's mistakes rather than going for a move. I mean, that's picture perfect in terms of taking advantage of the 2 leaders' battle.
Absolutely. Excellent placing from Santos. Kept themselves clean, kept it in 3rd place, was probably thinking, hey, podium, that's good solid points. That means I'm going to stand well for the next race near the front. And then all of a sudden, there's a Mercedes in the side of the Rudlovic car, and then a race win for them in race 2, which is pretty great, to be honest, for Santos. Sato, gutted they couldn't get their race win they wanted, but I'm sure they'll be back near the front in race 3.
Yeah, that chicane is definitely tricky, and one wrong move and not looking behind you, and your race can be 2 cars back by the end. No, I think that was brilliant racing, and despite we had a few collisions and crashes, I think hard racing is really what's going to make this interesting series to watch.
Definitely. I mean, these things are basically glorified touring cars, so wheel-to-wheel door banging is sort of expected. It's probably not advised, and I'm sure there'll be lines in rule books and driver briefings that say they shouldn't do it. But as a commentator, it provides cracking entertainment to talk over. So there we have it. Race 2 of the day is done. We've got one more coming up, another 15-minute race. Will we see Soto come back and claim their second win? Will we see another new first-time winner? Will Rudlovic be able to get back near the front? We'll have to find out. These are only 15-minute races, so they're not long. You have got to make moves, especially if you're on the last lap, as we just saw. But I think this track is really showing its strengths now.
Yeah, I think last race of the day, if you're someone kind of sitting in the mid pack like Tumulty, you want to be making a big move out the start. See if you can get some space between you and everyone. And if you know that everyone's a little collision happy, you want to be kind of putting a gap between you and potential collisions that can happen, not just behind you, but if something happens in front of you, you can take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Being brave off the start could put you in a good position, and then you've got to start plugging in those lap times that all these drivers will know they can do. We saw from qualifying before the broadcast that the cars were really quite close as we went through the qualifying laps. So just being able to plug in a consistent lap time to within a 10th or 2 of the car ahead and within a 10th or 2 of the car behind means that you have put yourself in a really good position. But now we get to race 3. All the gloves are off. They know the circuit as well as they're going to know it. They know each other as well as they're going to know each other today. And more importantly, there's no qualifying. There's no 4th race for them to worry about. If you're on the last lap, you might as well make the move, because if you crash, you crash. It's not like you're screwing yourself over for the next race.
I think it's exciting to watch them give it their all, especially in such a great track.
Yeah, it's a track I knew a little bit about before I came here, but after leaving here, I think, yeah, it's definitely a firm favourite of mine in America. We're going to get race 2 started any minute now. It's only 15 minutes and it's not too far away. But yeah, I think we're going to see a strong performance from Sato. So we've got a warm up for the final race in a minute. So yeah, we're nearly ready to go. The cars are near the front. We've obviously seen that the BMW and the Mercedes are the 2 cars to be in, but that Great House Porsche got that, was really near the front towards the end of that second race.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of it comes down to, where you start is going to help you, get ahead of the traffic, get behind the traffic. You've got to look after your position, but not be too cautious, but then not be too daring. It's really a track of balance, I think.
Yeah, and it's all high speed as well, so the drivers don't get any time to relax. They don't get any time to sort of have a breather. It's not like a circuit like Le Mans where they get super long. Here the cars are out for warm up for that last race. The clock chiming down. Here we have the trap car, one of our McLaren's, lovely mid-engine British built supercar, the 570S, wonderful car, just a little bit twitchy if we're not careful, as we saw earlier.
It's a gorgeous livery on that car. I love the black, yellow and white, like a bee.
Like a bee indeed. We saw some cracking liveries. This one is the number 13 car going up the hill there through the chicane. I think we're just past. I don't know. I've kind of lost where we are on circuit. There we go. Yeah, round turn 6 and back down the hill.
I think that might be my favourite thing about this track is the elevation change. I think it's the uphill and downhill section is probably the most interesting to watch because cars are affected by that quite a bit in a way that I don't think you get on a flat track.
Yeah, flat track, something like say Silverstone. They're built on airfields. They're very they're flat as a pancake. There's very little elevation change, and definitely nothing as severe as you might get at other circuits like Donington Park, Oulton Park, or in America like Laguna Seca, or like Lime Rock Park here. So it does play into how the drivers act. Uphill sections reward cars with high power, high torque. Downhill sections, especially downhill corners, reward bravery and stability.
I was reading about the history of Lime Rock actually, and there was a proposal to extend it up into the mountains, so I think we could have had an even more extreme uphill downhill. But I think I'm quite happy with the short track we've ended up with. I think it's a lovely little track.
Yeah, it's a very unique circuit. It's not really raced by too many major international series because of its size. It doesn't really hold anything bigger than IMSA, and even when they come, it's the Michelin Pilot Sport Challenge rather than the full WeatherTech Championship. So GT4 cars, TCR cars, and all that sort of goodness. But here we can see just how it's not a narrow track by any stretch of the imagination. You can still easily go 3-4 cars wide at some points, like we saw. But it's tight and it's small, and the lap times are well under a minute for nearly every championship, which means that things like practice are very useful because you can get in a lot of laps in a very short time.
I think it adds to the speed of this track as well. You can carry so much speed through the corners, which you can't at other tracks.
Yeah, you can definitely carry a good amount of speed. You're very unlikely to touch second gear for most of the race, if not at all. The spin there for the number 19 Porsche into the barrier, just testing the limits, pushing to find it. This is to warm up for the final race, so don't go anywhere. And if you are going to go anywhere, come back in 9 minutes time to watch our final race of the day, another 15-minute sprint in the IMSA GT4 Sprint Series presented by Gridfinder. This is the first round, like we've been saying all day. So again, come back in the same time, the same place next week for round 2 at Oulton Park, and then again for round 3 the week after that. I'm looking forward to the rest of the circuits. Most of them are in America, but not all of them. Like I said, Oulton Park round 2, personal favourite of mine, not because it's 45 minutes away from my house or anything, but because it's an amazing place to visit.
I was about to ask you what your favourite is going to be. I think I'm always personally a Laguna Seca girl at heart. I just love the corkscrew so much. I think maybe that's why I've got a fondness for the uphill and downhill here. But no, I think this track is such a good starter for the drivers and also, for us as a team. I think it's a fun track to start at. It's, starting the series off right.
Definitely, it's a good chunk of circuits we've got coming up. Like we said, Oulton Park round 2, Cheshire's finest, and then we go to California's Laguna Seca, the home of the famous corkscrew, and all of that uphill, downhill goodness. Not a favourite of mine personally, but that's mainly because I have a lot of skill issues into the corkscrew. But we'll ignore that small problem. Then we head over to Barber Motorsport Park for round 4, and then Virginia International Raceway, which is a very, very interesting circuit. If any of you know anything about that one, it's got Airbnb hotels on the trackside, so you can wake up to the lovely sound of race cars in the morning, and then we finish off at a proper full-fat ex-Formula 1 circuit, which is Watkins Glen on the 26th of July. We've still got space on sign-ups for most, if not all of the rounds, so if you're watching this at home thinking, gosh, I could do better than these plebs, then come and join these plebs, and you can all be plebs together. We've got lots of space, lots of happiness. It's all on iRacing. There is a list of 6 available cars: the Aston Martin Vantage, the BMW M4, the Ford Mustang, the Porsche Cayman, the McLaren 570S, and so far the best car of the pack seems to be the Mercedes AMG, all put to iRacing BOP. Personally, I would take the Porsche, but again, I'm not quick enough to even get close to the front of this lot.
Yeah, I think I'm going to leave the driving to them. I quite like the talking at it and going, yes, I could have done that, I could have done that. But judging by my lap times, I think I could take a leisurely drive around the track, but nothing more. I've got so much admiration for these drivers.
It's always very humbling when you think, God, 56.7, that can't be too awful. And then you go and do it in a sim, and you're like, how, what, no, where,
Yeah.
Because there's...
I was starting to get to a point where I was like, okay, I'm just gonna drive and take in the scenery, take in the view. This is a leisurely day out. Serious race for me.
Yeah, and that's the good thing about this series, is it is a friendly one. But if you're looking for something a little bit faster, then you may want to keep an eye out on Grid Finder, on all of our social pages, and on the website. That Season 8 of the IMSA Time Attack Championship is coming soon. Season 7 just finished very recently, but within the next few weeks, Season 8 will be starting. We've got big prizes on the line for that, which details will be found online shortly if they're not already there. These are all the quick cars you know and love from the IMSA broadcasts. Like that Detroit Grand Prix race we had this weekend, you've got the prototypes and the GT3 cars, LMP2, all of that goodness that you love from the front end of the IMSA grid. So if you're looking at these thinking, God, GT4s are a bit slow, well, you can go and do it something faster if you want in the IMSA Time Attack, which will be starting up lovely. So we've got one of our Mustangs here just going around, followed by one of the Mercedes. This is just a warm-up for race 3, so yeah, we will be getting back to racing action before you even know it. Maybe go and get a cup of tea if you want one, though, if you've got good time to do so.
So if you were driving around, what do you think it is that's like the most difficult section of this track, Dan?
Oh, the most difficult... Well, so far we've seen that turn 1 and 2 are surprisingly difficult if you're in a McLaren. We saw multiple of them go off in practice and in qualifying, and we've seen a couple of them go off in the race. So I'd say if I was in a McLaren, turn 2, mid-engine car, highly rotatable, and therefore highly likely to spin it if you're not careful. However, for the rest of the cars, especially the front-engine ones, the chicane at the top of the track, the uphill chicane of turn 5, is always going to be difficult. You've got to bounce those curves to perfection. Too much bouncing and you're off into the walls in the Connecticut woodlands. Too little bouncing and you're losing valuable seconds.
Yeah, I think turn 4 was definitely the trickier bit for me. Getting because you could do turn 3 and I was like, yes, I got turn 3, and then oof. And you kind of have to take turn 3 and 4 and the S's kind of not in an isolation, but they're kind of a set of 2. You've really got to think of them together. That was how it helped me kind of get around it slightly quicker.
Yes, going with the flow is definitely part of what makes a racing driver, well, great. It's what separates the good from the great, is getting into that flow state, knowing the car, knowing the circuit like the back of their proverbial hand, so that they can just get in the flow state, get out there, do it every single time consistently. They're not thinking about each corner separately and overthinking and overdriving, and that's something that comes with experience. You've definitely got some experienced drivers in this group, like that phase team of Mercedes, as we can see up ahead, the number 50 car, as we ride on board with the 68 Porsche. We've got 3 and a bit minutes left to go, so we will get racing shortly. If you're listening to us, don't worry, there will be proper on-track action soon for race 3.
I think it's interesting we mentioned, some of the drivers knowing each other. We also have a few of the drivers who competed in the IMSA Time Attack a few weeks back. So I think it's kind of interesting that there's kind of an awareness, you probably go, oh, I know that username, oh, I know who that is. It's kind of nice to know there's a familiarity with each other, and I guess by now they're kind of adjusting to each other's driving styles and kind of an understanding of the track.
Definitely, that experience is all useful. You will always see drivers in real life in the LMP cars, in the hypercars, in the GTP cars. They'll drop down into GT3 cars for other races, other events, things like the Nürburgring 24 Hours. They was professional, top-level prototype drivers in that. This is basically the same thing. I'm just saying we're basically the same as Max Verstappen, is what I'm saying at this point. We've got drivers who are specialists in other series and other cars going up against relatively inexperienced drivers just looking for their first competitive series. So if you're watching this and thinking, am I allowed in? Would I be accepted? Probably, assuming you've got sufficient, iRating and all of that sort of sim racing goodness that you need to get into series. Then there would definitely be a place for you on the grid, and you could come and have a go. We could talk on what someone like us would waffle at over your driving. For better or worse, you'd be able to race against these other very quick drivers and see how you stack up.
So if some of these drivers are Max Verstappen, does that make us Crofty and Brundle? Maybe a BTEC version.
Yeah, Crofty and Brundle from Wish.com.
I'll put that on my LinkedIn.
Yep, that is exactly what will be on our taglines going forward, is Crofty and Brundle from Temu.com. As we've got some of there's the number 78 Hasselblad car, one of our quick ones from earlier on in the race. Not everyone's come out to warm up the drivers, some of them having a break, having a think, having a breather after the carnage of race 1 and race 2.
I imagine some of them are taking your advice and getting a cup of tea. I know I would do the same. It's a little bit like
go through
serious drivers having, all these kind of taking on board fluids, getting in the mindset. I think a cup of tea does the same job.
Yep, a cup of tea, a biscuit, if you need it, quick trip to the loo, solves all problems, I find, when in between races of sim racing.
I wonder if you were driving in this warm-up right now, what sort of things would you be focusing on? What sort of things would you be thinking about?
I think I have done a bit of sim racing. I say very poorly before people start thinking I'm actually good at this stuff. And in practice sessions like this, what you're just trying to do is basically just check. I always though just to check that I still am competent, just to see if I can learn anything from the cars around me. Maybe follow a car I know is quicker than me by a little bit, see where they're braking, see where they're turning, see where all of their lap time is coming from and why they're better than me. Or if it...
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was looking at going, I think I'd probably watch back and see what the best of the best are doing, see if I can pick up any tips, as we've got 30 seconds until we get the final race of the day. I feel like it's flown by. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, these have been some cracking racing. I've seen some proper duds in my time in unnamed other things, and these are definitely not them. I think the 15-minute format really helps that one though. The longer races tend to be a little bit less interesting, but this is cracking. We've got race 3 of the day coming up, and then that'll be it for today. We'll be back here next week at Oulton Park for round 2 of the IMSA GT4 Sprint Series, presented by Gridfinder. As warm-up comes to a close, the cars will be finishing up their laps and they're heading back to start the formation lap for race 3.
Yeah, I've had so much fun today. I think it'll be really interesting to see our final race, see if we have any surprise stories like race 2 seemed to give us. I'm hoping for some good clean overtaking, maybe some messy overtaking as well, just to keep us on our toes. But no matter what, I'm sure it's gonna be a great race.
Definitely, we've seen these guys know how to race close and clean, and also know how to race just close. So we'll have to see if race 3 turns them into, full board door banging stock cars, or whether they keep it nice and clean. I think the lack of fear about a following race will help though. Because of course in race 1 and 2 you've got qualifying sets race 1, but race 2 is set by race 1 and race 3 is set by race 2. So you've kind of got to think, do I make the move and risk losing out on a good starting place for the next one? But not in race 3. Everything just kind of goes out the window.
I did take a little nosy in the rule book before I looked at this yesterday, and there was a lot about keeping it respectful and not doing too much door banging, but it makes for an interesting race for us.
Oh yeah, we're not respectful door banging indeed. We're not the stewards, it's not our problem. As long as the drivers don't get completely out of control. Here we go, the cars are on the grid. You can see the Santos BMW there, our race 2 winner ahead of Rudlovic, who got very unlucky to lose it on the last lap due to a move by the car down in 5th place of Soto, as the cars pull away for their formation lap behind the safety car. It's a very short lap, so don't worry, this is not going to be a long, dull, boring safety car lap. We've got Santos, then Rudlovic in 2nd, then the Great House car in 3rd, Linda in 4th, Soto 5th, Hausband 6th, Mills 7th, Togni 8th, Tokpini 9th, Trap 10th, and then Ivy, Fierro, Blaze, Jax, Gonzalez is a car to watch for this race. They got screwed over and hit the wall very early on in race 2. They were trying to make their way back through, and then Alvarez and then Pico, another car we expect to be making moves, is near the back. But here we go. The car's just doing a little bit of warm-up, braking, accelerating, braking, weaving to get that tyre temperature that they oh so crave for the race start, which will not only help them get grip, but also stop them from making monster silly moves and having big axle bumps.
Yeah, especially in turn 1 and 2 in Big Bend, I found that if your tyres aren't warm enough, you find the runoff quite quickly.
Definitely, it's a thing to consider, especially when we're going 2 or even 3 wide. There is the famous uphill chicane before they come down onto the back straight. That is a key point to watch out for if you're ever racing here, or even on this stream, of where cars are likely to do silly things or do amazing heroic things. Getting into that side-by-side formation for our rolling start now. Behind the BMW safety car is BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, a lovely German group at the front there. The first of our Mustangs is well down in 7th place. So it's looking like it's going to be a German washout, but then again, when half your grid is German, that's not really a massive surprise. Onto the start finish straight we go. The safety car will pull away any second now. Santos will then lead the cars up to the lights for the start of the 3rd race of the day of the IMSA GT4 Sprint Series presented by Gridfinder at Lime Rock Park, and we are racing in Lime Rock. It's a good start from Santos, keeps them clear of the pack behind. There's a little bit of bickering, and we can see there's cars moving up and behind, but there's the Mustang of Mills got very close to the Great House, in his Porsche, but it seems reasonably clean. Santos is bolted at the front, Rudlovic is fine, Great House and Soto are side by side, and Lindner as well there, the two black Mercedes, going up the inside of the Porsche. They've made an excellent start. Great House losing some of those early positions. Santos leads us away nice and cleanly towards the chicane for the first time. Rudlovic slotted into 2nd, no trouble for that car. Lindner up into 3rd, Soto already up into 4th, Great House down to 5th, then the Mills in his Mustang. There is the McLaren of Tumulty, who has dropped back to 12th place. Not a great start for them, as we see side by side ahead between Ivy and Gonzalez. Gonzalez, one of our early leaders, early successful drivers in race 1, who had that crash in race 2, now trying to find their way back up through. We've already done lap number 1. There's Santos. There's a car sideways. That is Rudlovic is completely out of contention. Immediately got turned around out of the last corner on lap 1. They are plummeting along with the Mills car. That is both of those cars out of contention. Lindner now inherits 2nd, Soto up to 3rd. He is now a 2-3 for the Faze. Mercedes is behind the Santos BMW.
There's some big names out early, and I wonder who's going to take advantage of that. Is it going to be, the names at front, or are they going to do something silly and we'll see more and more of the pack kind of drop up to places just out of, luck as well as good racing?
Well, there's this. It's half luck and half being clever, keeping yourself clean, keeping yourself out of harm's way, playing it safe, not doing anything stupid, and hoping the car behind you is doing the same thing is all important when it comes to succeeding. If the car ahead of you makes a mistake, that's basically a free overtake, as long as you can avoid the resulting carnage. Onto the start finish straight we go now. Already 2 laps in, and Santos is pulling away to the tune of 0.7 seconds at the end of that lap, 0.4 back to Soto, then a nice chunky second and a bit to Great House, and then a second and again back to Hausbahn. Means that this front group are very much a trio being chased by everybody else, as we see that Rudlovic and Mills are very close to each other but very far off the back. There's very, very nip and tuck there between the two Mercedeses. Are we going to see a move for Soto on Lindner? These are teammates. There they go. Through Soto goes. Maybe that looked like it was almost a lap through overtake though.
Yeah, I was about to say that was a clinical overtake, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few team ones with that.
Yeah, maybe the team are going to prioritise Soto at least this weekend, so that driver can hopefully get the Driver of the Day award and the prize IMSA diecast model car that comes with it. Unless they're not in America, then they get an iRacing voucher. But here we go, Santos coming around, nearly built a second lead. That move didn't cost the two Faze cars too much of time, but it cost them a little bit now as the gap is just touching a second. We know that BMW has got a lot of straight line speed from earlier.
Got some nice close rating at the front. We've got 11th, 12th, 13th, all still within a second of each other. I think this race is going to shape out to be really interesting. I mean, we've had 3 minutes, and we've got another 11 and a bit to go, so we shall see.
Definitely, and if we start to see back markers playing a factor, that can also be a humongous decision. The eternal catchphrase of sports car racing is the traffic giveth and the traffic taketh away. It can be the deciding factor in races, and it has been in many, many sim races and even top level professional races across the globe. Here we go, Soto definitely one of our faster cars this race day, is now right behind the Santos BMW. They're practically pushing the back end of the BMW is Soto as we come down through the last corner of the downhill, fast and flat. We just saw a traffic car ahead of them, I believe. Never mind, they've disappeared. Anyway, they're very close to the front. Are we going to see a move? Not this lap.
No, I feel like I'm hallucinating traffic at this point, especially when, it's going to add such an interesting dimension to this race. I think it'll be really interesting to see how the front navigate it, and even, as like a lapped car, how do you, respectfully get out of the way? Don't want to get in front of two battling cars. As we see, Soto still chasing Santos.
Definitely, the traffic might play a factor, but these drivers cannot bank on it. Soto knows they have to make the move on the road because they cannot bank on the traffic, they cannot bank on the mistakes. Santos has proved to be a very opportunist racer, gained all those places in race 2 due to a mistake by Soto. So that if nothing else, that sets a little bit of precedent for both of these drivers in their own mind of, all right, I can play this safe, I know how to do this. And Soto's thinking, right, don't make another mistake, don't gift Santos another victory.
I think it must be hard, to stay in the race and not dwell on mistakes made in the past. You've got to stay focused, look to the future, look for those opportunities.
Definitely, a race car driver's best friend is an opportunity that is swiftly taken, because if you hesitate, it'll be gone. The number 1 BMW, though, is putting up a good defence. The gap is consistently under half a second, but not consistently enough close to 0 that Soto can make the move through. Up through the chicane they go. The Mercedes there looking very tidy, getting very close to the back of the BMW, has a look around the outside. Santos runs it wide, but keeps it on the racing line, keeps it nice and clean, keeps the Mercedes behind. Soto is going to be looking to make a run, though, as we come down through the last corner. Keep it flat in 5th if you can do it. Onto the start-finish straight, the two of them go. These two big German GT4 beasts. Inline 6 versus V8, Santos versus Soto, down towards turn 1. Is the move thrown? No. Stays behind, keeps it all neat and tidy for now. Lindner just hanging a second back, and then Greathouse a second behind that as well. Those two are going to be watching this thinking, right, when that goes pear-shaped, or if that goes pear-shaped, I should say, what am I going to do? How am I going to maximise my potential?
This is some precision from Santos, not getting phased, not getting flustered when he sees Soto just poking out behind him. Clinical defence, stay calm. I think it is interesting, Linda and Greathouse just, watching, waiting, seeing if they can take advantage of any slip-up from either of the two drivers.
Yeah, and just a reminder, these are the 2 race winners we've had so far. Santos won race 2, Soto won race 1. That means that this is basically it's pretty much championship leader. It won't quite be because of points in the other race, but those two are definitely early championship contenders. They're side by side down the start-finish straight. The Mercedes on the outside, that is Soto on the outside of Santos. Onto the brakes they go. Nearly identical braking points. The BMW has the inside for 1 and 2 of the Big Ben, but just a reminder, the left-hander of 3, and then the S's are coming up, but the BMW seems to have used that inside line to get back up ahead. This is definitely not over. We're coming up on halfway, and this could not be closer between 1 and 2. And look at that, look who's arrived. It's Lindner. They've turned up on the scene. The bickering of 1 and 2 has allowed 3rd place to join the fight. It's a tale as old as racing time.
Yeah, I think we can expect to see Lindner, have a real input on this fight soon enough. I think as much as it's fun to sit back and watch, I know if I was Lindner, I'd want to get in there and, try and see if I can mess the 2 of them up.
Yeah, maybe quick flash of the lights, get nice and close, maybe scare them a little bit, make them a little bit nervous, a bit on edge, maybe distract them, and that might give you the all-important lock-up or power slide that you need to make your way through.
It only takes one little mistake, especially on a track as fast as this, and you can really reap the rewards.
Yes, you can definitely see with the track like this, only 7 corners, but those 7 corners will bite you. We've seen pretty much each corner have its own incident so far. So that means that the drivers need to be on their toes, need to be ready. There's a little bit of a twitch in the BMW. It is a very powerful car, I think 500 plus horsepower on all of these cars, but it's definitely the biggest in terms of visual presence of this front pack. Punching a nice big hole in the air as Soto gets very close on their way through the chicane. There's curve 1, curve 2 and curve 3 as they now power their way up the hill towards the bridge. We're over halfway now, under 7 minutes. Sorry, this race is going by very, very quickly, but that's what happens when you have got 3 cars for the lead. Well, really 2 cars, and then Linda having a little peek whenever they're close. Is there going to be enough slipstream for the Mercedes? I don't think so. That BMW does seem to have the legs in the straights.
Yeah, I think it's it's interesting. Lindner's dropped back to just over a second, you know. Oh, and back under a second. We really can't discount Lindner. I think that I'm expecting... Oh, and Greathouse seems to have overtaken Lindner.
Lindner has gone off in the background. That car ran very wide. Greathouse snuck up the inside. Basically, just as you said, it's all going well for Lindner. It all didn't go well for Lindner. Welcome to the commentator's curse, everyone. It's very much alive and ready. Even in the sim world, even grid finder commentators are not immune. But here we have it for the lead. Will Soto make the move? No. There's got to be some learnings from last race there. I definitely think there would have been a move had the one at the end of race 2 for Soto gone well on the Rutlovich Mercedes. But here we go. They are now, this is the closest we've seen them through these corners so far this race. 5 and a bit minutes to go, down the hill, under the bridge, through the flat right of the down, or not quite flat right, of the downhill corner. That is its name, don't worry, I'm not being really boring. Onto the start finish straight, the pair of them go up into 5th gear, using all of the rev range. Are we going to see him move up the inside? Brakes are applied there into turn 1, and no, just a little bit wider there, tighter line for the Mercedes, lets them edge up to the back. Soto edging up to the back of Santos, and then he'll come towards turn 2 and turn 3. This is for the lead, remember, and also for the not quite championship lead, but definitely for driver of the day, with their excellent race wins apiece for Soto race 1 and Santos race 2.
I think it's interesting, you know, there's obviously the 4-second gap down, and then we've got kind of, at the back there is some close racing, but it's definitely the main stories at the front here between Santos and Soto. I think it's the kind of best of the best kind of racing right now. I think it's really interesting.
It is definitely GT4 racing at its finest. Now here we go, another good, the gap down to 0.2 as we start we're about to start the next lap. It's only a 15-minute race, so these guys have been very close to the basically now 11 minutes. Soto's been looking at the back end of Santos's BMW thinking, right, how am I going to get past? We've got close, we've got side by side, we've even got a little bit of Soto ahead in this race, but not enough to seal the move. They're still nose to tail, and they have dropped Lindner and Greathouse massively behind.
I think if you're Soto, you're starting to think, when am I going to make my move? Am I going to make my move? You know, you're aware you've got 4 minutes left of the race. You've got to think, right, what are my best overtaking opportunities? And, you know, start sticking something a bit more brave.
Yeah, you've got to think, when am I going to do this? And then you start thinking, is doubt going to start creeping in? Soto has a history of racing, has done lots of karting and done other sim racing before. So they're a driver that knows how to do racing. They're not inexperienced in any way. They've done other things successfully. They're also a driver coach and a sim racing coach for that phase competition and Super Lab team. They've always wanted to compete in real life IMSA. Well, so far they're putting themselves in a pretty good place in this series to compete near the front. The gap up to 0.5 now, I say up to 0.5, 0.5 is a tiny gap, but relative to what we've seen today, 0.5 at the front is a pretty small gap.
0.5, yeah. I think we're going to get some great racing action in the last 3 minutes. When we look at the two at the front, they're never really far away. It's like they're magnetic, that, you know, the gap opens and closes and opens and closes, but it's never by much.
Yeah, it is. They're keeping within each other. That's what's important for these two, is they're keeping within a second. If there was DRS, there will be, but this is sports car racing. We don't need any of your DRS overtake aids. We've got skill and carnage to do our overtaking for us. The gap's still at 0.2 seconds. That Mercedes has evidently got the pace, but the BMW has just got a big amount of Bavarian grunt to shove it down the start-finish straight with enough of a gap to keep Soto behind. These cars all BOP'd with an equivalent performance, so Soto must be making their laps up in the corners. Very deep for Santos there. Is it the change to the lead? There's door banging. Soto pushes them out. There they go. The Soto car takes the lead. That is a change for the lead. It's been coming for the last 12 minutes, but Soto has taken the lead from Santos. Now Soto needs to put the hammer down and run. Needs to start running qualifying laps, pushing to the maximum that they feel comfortable to. They've got 2 and a bit minutes to go, and the gap is half a second. Santos, however, is thinking, right, you've passed me, now it's my turn. I'm going to try and get into that slipstream, make that time up. There's a mistake for Soto in the chicane. There's nose-to-tail contact. That was very nearly humongous contact there, but braking for Santos kept it reasonably clean. This is that end of race 3 mentality we see all over the world of motorsport. End of the day, end of the session. You've got a week before the next race. It's iRacing, so it's not like you have to pay for the repairs. Here we go. The gap is now half a second, though. That mistake, that little bit of contact, cost Santos a chance on this lap.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We're so close to the end. You know, they're starting to get twitchy. Soto's now got to, instead of being the attacker, you've got to switch mindset completely. You've got to go on the defensive. You've got to think, how big can I make my rear? How can I keep Santos behind. And as you can see from Santos's view, you're starting to look, right, okay, where can I get through? How can I exploit, one tiny mistake? You've got to completely switch from defensive to attacking and attacking to defensive.
Definitely. Only 2 laps to go. This is the penultimate lap. If they cross the line should be the penultimate lap, assuming that the lap time stays reasonably consistent to what it's been before. But that gap now is up to a second. The Soto has absolutely bolted out the front. That is the pace we saw in race 1 and the pace we saw in race 2 until they made their mistake. I think what we're learning about Soto here is they're a very quick driver who likes to push the boundaries of contact to make their moves. Santos, however, is clean and clinical and efficient, hence why they've had such strong finishes so far. We've got 40 seconds on the clock left. This should be the last lap of the race, so Santos has got about 7 corners to make their move, which realistically they've only got a couple of chances to do it, but with a 1.2 second gap it's looking unlikely.
Yeah, you can see the rest of the pack behind, but it is the 2 at front that have provided the most entertainment, I'd say, this race. Lidner just staying back, calmly, collectively getting 3rd place. But really, Santos is the one to make a move if he's going to, and I can't see it happening with a 1 second gap.
No, and just a word on the cars behind. Lidner has managed to keep Greathouse at bay for the meantime, while these 2 front have just pulled a monster 4-second gap over the rest of them. But here we have the battle for the back end of the podium. Only half a second separates the Porsche from the cars ahead. As we come towards the end of race number 3, it is a race win for Soto. Santos comes home in 2nd place. Lidner takes 3rd. Greathouse 4th place in the Porsche. Pico comes home in 5th place. Excellent recovery drive from them, along with Gonzalez, who also recovered very well. But our only so far our first repeat race winner is Soto in the number 50 Mercedes. The Thais competition and Super Lab car takes race number 3 of the day.
Yeah, I think that was, clinical from Soto. Santos was a brilliant defender, but Soto just stayed put, calm, collected. And, one tiny mistake from Santos, and Soto knew how to exploit that and turn that into a race win, which I think is a sign of a great driver.
It's definitely the sign of a great driver, of the things to come. We've still got more racing coming up over the next 5 weeks. This is a full championship, so do come back and join us next week for more racing, where you'll see drivers like Soto and Santos battling it out at Alton Park this time. So, across the pond, but equally as undulating. But yeah, excellent trio of races there. We really got to see the ferocity of the drivers towards the end, especially the 2nd and 3rd one, where competitiveness and skill was on show. Very well.
I think this was a display of how great the drivers are, but how great this series is going to be. I know I, for one, am really excited to watch the rest of the races, and I'll be intrigued to see if it's the same names continually winning, or whether we're going to have a bit of a shake-up. Maybe this track isn't for everyone. A bit of change could be good for them. Maybe Alton Park will see someone who was more mid-pack this race, really come through and shine.
Definitely. It'll also depend on whether drivers know the circuit or not. We have no idea how much experience they have. These are all iRacing circuits, so if they've raced them before, then they'll know what they're doing. But yes, those are the 3 races. Race number 1 won by Soto. Race number 2 by Santos after a Soto mistake, and then Soto won the 3rd race ahead of Santos. Excellent trio of races. Any last thoughts from you, Poppy?
Just how excited I am for the rest of the series. I think this has been, a great display of what's to come.
Definitely, that is a sentiment I will echo. So yeah, join us here next week on Grid Finder for the IMSA Spring Sprint Series in GT4 cars, presented by Grid Finder, next week at Alton Park. Same time, same place. See you there.